Look, we have known since Wednesday when the governor spoke at that press conference that Scott Woodward's time at LSU was coming to an end very, very quickly, and that did happen on Thursday night. The official party line is that the two parted ways amicably. Scott Woodward and LSU decided to go in a different direction. That's what we'll go with. And I think it's important to just now lay out where LSU is. And that starts with what you're parting ways from, and that's Scott Woodward. You know, obviously he's a Baton Rouge guy, Catholic High guy, LSU guy, worked at LSU, built up into the ranks, and then eventually went out to Washington, became their athletic director. He hired Chris Peterson there, which was a monster get for Scott. Then he moved down to Texas A&M, hired Jimbo Fisher, and when Scott Woodward left Texas A&M, things looked really good with Jimbo Fisher. The next year, they went 9-1, and Ross Bjork extended that contract. He also hired Buzz Williams, who did some really good things at Texas A&M before moving on. But he came to LSU, and he came home. And you know, you can talk a lot of ways about Scott's time at LSU. There are a lot of positives. National championships speak for themselves. He hired Kim Mulkey, she won one. He hired Jay Johnson, he won a couple. He hired Jay Clark, he won one. Now, Mulkey was at Baylor. Was that stale? I don't know, but he got her to come home. Jay Johnson was a great find for him out at Arizona, not a name that I thought a lot about, and I follow college baseball very closely. Jay Johnson won a lot of games, went to Omaha twice at Arizona, so it wasn't like a complete unknown, but it was a phenomenal hire. And Jay Clark was here, and Scott Woodward made him the head coach. But those coaches won championships. On the flip side, there was the saga with Will Wade, and you can kind of split that one down the middle. There are some people that think what Will Wade did in Baton Rouge was embarrassing to the university, was illegal in terms of the rules of college basketball, and needed to be moved on from. There are some that staunchly defend Will Wade. I'll say this. I know that I really enjoyed Will Wade's time as the LSU men's basketball coach. That was really fun. I launched that podcast, and it could be part of the reason I'm sitting here today. I very much enjoyed when Will Wade was here. But Scott Woodward let Will Wade go, and he hired a new basketball coach. And to this point, Matt McMahon hasn't won very much. I'm excited to go watch them play on Wednesday. But to this point, the record is what the record is. He hired Brian Kelly to a $95 million contract. It didn't work. And everyone knows, if you're an athletic director at one of these monster schools and you hire a football coach and it does not work, you can pay for that with your job. That is well known in these circles. Now, plenty of coaches get to hire plenty of athletic directors get to hire a couple football coaches. Scott Woodward not afforded that opportunity as LSU and Scott Woodward parted ways. You can ask 5 different LSU fans what they thought about Scott Woodward's run at LSU, and you're going to get 5 different answers. Mine is that I think that Scott did a lot of really good things. My take on athletic directors is this. It's not a Scott Woodward thing. It's just an athletic director thing. Hiring coaches is a monster crapshoot. Huge crapshoot. You just don't know what's going to hit big and what's going to flop. And so I'm not going to hold one individual hire against any athletic director because it's just really hard to do. It's hard to poke holes in Brian Kelly's pre-LSU resume. It really is. But it didn't work. And then you hear people say, well, he's on the hook for all that money. And I'm not as concerned with the financial part of it. It's not my money. I know that there are people that are very concerned with the financial part, and I get that too. Not my money. I'm concerned with the results. I don't care if the coach makes $10 million a year, if the coach makes $3 million a year. What are the results? That's the only thing that matters to me at LSU. And Brian Kelly's results weren't atrocious, but they weren't good enough. And he was let go. I would have kept Scott Woodward because I believe Scott Woodward has great contacts in collegiate athletics. And I believe this deeply. I believe Scott Woodward really cares about LSU. And that means something to me as an LSU alum and as an LSU supporter. I'm not suggesting that's right or wrong. It's how I feel. I like somebody in there that cares. In big money business, there can be people that don't care. We're going to talk about Brian Kelly at the top of hour number 2. He was here at LSU. He was coaching. Do you think that blood was bleeding purple and gold? And look, Ed Ogeron says his does, and the results his last 2 years were terrible. That's not the only thing that matters. But it's a piece to this puzzle that I consider, and I think Scott bled purple and gold, and that bums me out that he's no longer here. But I understand it wasn't perfect. Now, that's the past. That's over. What's now? What's next? And if you heard Brian Kelly's press conference when he took the LSU job, one word reigned the day. Alignment, 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 alignment. You have no alignment now. And that's not because everyone hates each other. That's because no one exists. As I sit in this chair right now, LSU has an interim university president, interim athletic director, and interim head football coach. Okay? That is not a desirable spot. But that's where LSU finds itself. So what happens now? Well, you're gonna have a new president named on Tuesday. So the interim to the interim to the interim is going to be broken up on Tuesday. It's almost ridiculous to say out loud. But that's going to be broken up on Tuesday when you hire a president. And we all believe that's going to be Wade Roos. That's kind of hard to say. A little bit of a tongue twister. Wade Roos. That's likely who's going to be the president come Tuesday. And today at the press conference, which included the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, it included the chair of the athletic committee of the Board of Supervisors, and the interim athletic director, the stated mission was that we're going to go find a football coach now. Was there a timeline for the athletic director? No. So what you're going to do is you're going to appoint an interim athletic director that the president, who will take his role on Tuesday, had nothing to do with. He and a committee are going to go hire a football coach that right now does not know who his boss is going to be. You've all listening taken jobs, I'd imagine. There are probably some of you that have been self-employed the entire time, but the vast majority of us have taken jobs. It's really nice to know who your boss is. Really nice to know who you're reporting to. And it's really nice to know that your boss hired you and took a chance on you. And that right now is not going to be the case with the new LSU football coach. Now, it stands to reason that the new president will come in Tuesday, will suggest, hey, committee, keep doing your work there to hire a football coach, but we need to go find an athletic director. And he can go help with that. And maybe you hire an athletic director who will then join the committee to hire the coach, but you see how long it's taking me to explain this, and that creates the potential issues. And I say potential issues because, look, I say this all the time with coaching searches that don't involve this many pieces. The process is not necessarily as important as the outcome. There are plenty of great coaching searches that are done in the dead of the night, that are quiet, that are decisive, that are quick, that are done, that don't work. LSU just did that with Brian Kelly. Nobody was talking about Brian Kelly. It did not take a long time. It was in November, right after LSU played a football game the weekend prior. And the hire was made. It was done. No one knew names that were floated until it was over. And you went and got literally what is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. That's as good a process as you could have. And it didn't work. And at that point, you had a governor and a president and an athletic director that were all on the same page. You had John Bell Edwards, William Tate, and Scott Woodward. And there are plenty of y'all listening to that would go, well, I hate all three of those guys. And that's fine. Politics are politics, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they were all in alignment. They all got along. They all understood each other's roles. They all let each other do their jobs. And it netted a really nicely done coaching search that didn't work. So I'm not here to tell you that this coaching search can't work because you got a bunch of interims all over the place and the hires are out of order. I'm just suggesting, more often than not, it's nice when things are in line, and they're not right now. LSU is in a weird spot. And the only thing that most of y'all care about is the result of this head football coaching search. And that's what was the priority in this press conference today. Was it a great press conference? I would suggest probably not. That doesn't matter either. Press conferences aren't on the scoreboard. But what you need to have happen is LSU go hire a really good football coach. And the question that has to be raised is the dysfunction, is the disorganization that is going on with LSU because of all the interims that are lined up and everybody that's been parted ways with or lost their jobs or been elected, that's all very fuzzy. Does the new coach, the new prospective coaches, Do they hold that against LSU and decide to go somewhere else? That remains to be seen. I don't know. Virgil Audiferi was very adamant today that his phone is ringing, that he believes LSU to be the best job in the country, and he's going to go hire a great football coach. And Virgil Audiferi has been involved in a lot of coaching searches over the years at LSU. He's been a trusted staffer in that athletic department for decades. So we'll see. We'll see what the result is. At this point, it's just speculation. It's a bumpy start. That doesn't mean it's going to be a bumpy result. But right now, there are a lot of people looking from the outside in at Baton Rouge, in at LSU, and going, I'm not real sure about all this. And there are a lot of layers to it, and we'll get to more of that in 15 minutes when I talk about the week that has been and the quotes that we have gotten and what may or may not be. I'll just leave. We'll do it in 15 minutes. But it's been a wild, wild week down here in Baton Rouge. And right now, full steam ahead trying to go get a football coach. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.